on CBS News Sacramento.
Thanks for joining us for the CBS 13 News at 4:30. I'm Hunter Sowards. We've got your reporters in your community this afternoon, getting answers across the region. Your reporter covering Sutter and Yuba Counties, Kayla Moeller, getting answers on how a levee project helping to shore up protections for thousands of people. And your reporter Steve Large is in downtown Sacramento for today's Politics at Large, listening in on a hearing with lawmakers who are questioning the oil czar. And your reporter covering San Joaquin County, Carmela Karcher, she's getting answers for us in Lodi on the work to solve the growing homeless crisis. Looking overhead right now, though, first as we start off on this Wednesday at Lake Almanor in Plumas County. A little breeze across the area today, nothing too strong. Temperatures in the 80s as we reach the middle of the week before things are really going to heat up. Of course, just in time for the weekend. First Alert Chief Meteorologist Nick Marianos here with that First Alert forecast. Memorial Day weekend last week was just too perfect. We knew things had to level out.
Right, exactly. The unofficial start of summer, right? This weekend is going to feel like the heat of the summer months with those temperatures well up into the 100s. Today, right now, we're seeing a little bit in the way of mild weather, right? Of course, into the 80s right here. Stockton, Modesto, 83. Notice Fairfield at 76. We have that breeze coming in, and we are seeing those winds starting to kick up a bit, coming in across parts of the by the Delta into the portions of the northern Sacramento Valley. But otherwise, the big story is going to be the heat, the rising temperatures. We have heat advisories in place across the Sacramento and San Joaquin Valley. That goes into effect Friday and Saturday. Of course, we had the First Alert Action Days with that as those temperatures back up there. I think a lot of records will be broken on Friday. But nonetheless, Hunter, we're going to continue watching the heat and a sharp drop in our temperatures beyond that into early next week.
All right, we got a little bit of everything in the forecast.
Right.
Nick, thank you. A levee improvement project in the works for years is in its final stretch near Yuba City. Your reporter covering Sutter County, Kayla Moeller, was there as the shovels went in the ground.
This flood reduction project is finally wrapping up after more than a decade, protecting 2,000 people and Highway 99, but officials say there's still more to be done.
You're not going to have unnecessary floods just because the infrastructure didn't get done.
Congressman Doug LaMalfa and Assemblyman James Gallagher joined the Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency, or SBUFCA, in a groundbreaking ceremony to finish shoring up the last 1.6-mile stretch of the Feather River West levee.
When this is done, we will have completed 44 miles of levee improvements. We've already certified 200-year flood protection for our urban areas, and this project helps protect the southern portion, the rural areas of our basin.
Construction for the Tudor Flood Risk Reduction Project began in 2013 at Shanghai Bend, the same site of the 1955 levee break that claimed the lives of 30 people.
The levee is breaking. Everybody evacuate immediately.
It's an eternal vigilant effort. You have to always maintain and keep an eye on your levees.
This last stretch of the project, which costs $18 million, is completely funded by local dollars.
Sutter Butte has been able to do a lot of their projects in about half the time and about half the cost of what it takes government entities to do that.
We're using additional funding to continue design on the Sutter Bypass levee. So we have 5 miles of levee repairs under design right now.
Levee work isn't really ever over. The next project will be to shore up the Sutter Bypass. The project was slated to begin in 2027, but with recent FEMA cuts, SBUFCA is still working on securing funds.
We're out that $50 million, so we're looking at other FEMA programs to apply for. Congressman LaMalfa is a huge advocate for this agency, and he's going to help up in D.C. to help pass that funding on to this program.
Certainly a lot left to track here. The Tudor Flood Risk Reduction Project, though, should be finished by next year. All right, let's take a live look now at Highway 99 in San Joaquin County. That's where traffic is moving again after a shooting earlier today. We first brought you this story as breaking news on our show at noon. Take a look at what things looked like right at Murata Lane. Just as you get into the city there of Stockton, nobody was hurt in that shooting. Police still haven't released a motive or any suspect information. We're, of course, working to get answers for you on that, and we will update you once we have that information. In Sacramento, a teen is dead after an overnight shooting. It happened just before 10:30 last night on Coral Gables Court. Police say they found the teen shot once. He died at the hospital. Investigators, though, now looking for a suspect and a motive. A live look over downtown Sacramento, where a hearing has lawmakers grilling the California oil czar. Concern over rising gas prices and fleeing gas refineries has lawmakers wondering if the state's gas crisis is getting worse because of them. It comes on the heels of 2 more refineries announcing they're going to be ending production. For tonight's Politics at Large, you see Steve there. He's downtown outside of that hearing with questions and concerns over California's affordability crisis. Steve.
Yeah, just stepped outside of that hearing. Both California Democrats and Republican lawmakers really looking at themselves in the mirror, as well as these regulators asking, have they made California's gas price problem that's already bad even worse with their own actions? Here's just some of what we heard inside that hearing this afternoon.
We have a crisis on our hand that may have been self-created by the actions that perhaps have been taken by the state, by regulators.
I know that what climate leadership does not look like, and that is $10 gas. So we've got to be really, really honest with ourselves.
Still having a hard time in terms of the price manipulation. So can you help me with that?
So the committee posing these questions and these concerns to the Air Resources Board, also the California Energy Commission, including the so-called California oil czar. That position just appointed within the last couple of years to look at price spikes in California gas prices. The concern comes after 2 refineries announced plans to shut down in the past year. Phillips 66 in Southern California, Valero in Northern California. That came after lawmakers, they agreed on legislation to create a position for these refineries to perhaps have minimum storage levels. It was right after that that both of these refineries announced they would be closing down. That's going to reduce the supply of gas in the state of California by 20%, a very significant amount, of course. So coming up at 6, what's next? How high could gas prices go from here? And inside this hearing today, what were some of the solutions that were presented?
It's certainly interesting, Steve. You picked some good nuggets from that meeting there, hearing them have to ask those tough questions and ask about the cause and effects here of the decisions being made. We'll look forward to your report here at 6 o'clock live downtown for us. Thanks, Steve. The legal battle between California and the feds, it continues, this time over trans athletes competing in youth sports. Today, the United States Department of Justice announced an investigation into whether a California law violates Title IX. That law, signed by Governor Jerry Brown 12 years ago. It requires schools to allow transgender students to take part in all school activities and facilities as the gender they identify with rather than their sex assigned at birth. It was another day of testimony in the trial of the suspected Davis serial stabber. Today, the defense showed more video from Carlos Dominguez's interrogation just after he was arrested there. Also taking the stand today, 3 investigators with the Yolo County Public Defender's Office and the District Attorney's Office, as well as a psychiatrist.
Opinion, was Mr. Riales Dominguez suffering from schizophrenia in April and May of 2023?
That is my opinion.
Dominguez is accused in 2 of those killings and a 3rd stabbing in the spring of 2023. The trial will continue tomorrow. In that same courthouse, the 19-year-old suspect in the Davis Picnic Day shooting was arraigned. These are pictures of Joseph Davis, who pleaded not guilty today. He was arrested in Sacramento last week in connection to the shooting that left 3 people hurt last month at a Davis park. He is facing charges of assault with a deadly weapon and several other firearms-related charges. Coordinating care to address the homeless crisis, officials in San Joaquin County are hosting a series of community meetings this month to talk about what's working and what isn't when it comes to getting people off the streets. Your reporter covering San Joaquin County, Carmela Karcher, she is live for us in Lodi, getting answers on the options being considered and the impact here. Carmela.
Yeah, Hunter, that's exactly right. Now, the purpose of these meetings is to hear from those who have their boots on the ground combating this issue at the local level. But it's also an opportunity for the county to understand what's going on, put together a plan of action, and spend grant money appropriately. Now, right now, the county does have a grant opportunity, about $22 million from the state, but they still need to apply for the funding and have a plan put together. So these meetings are meant for just that, talking with locals who are involved with the homeless population, whether that be food banks or shelters, and get feedback on what they believe the strategies should be to address homelessness and work together as a community. Over the past few years, the county has seen a significant increase in homelessness, nearly doubling in the past 2 years to more than 4,000 people on the streets. Now, I asked the San Joaquin County Human Services Agency about that, and she said they changed their approach in getting a more accurate number.
Prior to this, if you saw one person but 10 tents, you would count the one person. Now we're using a methodology where we can get a better count on how many people might actually be in that encampment. And this is a better reflection of what we're actually seeing in our populations.
She went on to say that $22 million is a huge investment and they want to be smart in how they spend it. Today was their 6th community meeting since mid-May and plan to have one more tomorrow in Stockton. Now, after all this, they'll put together all of their feedback and put together that plan of action. The application is due in late August.
Certainly so many people wanting to see changes here. All right, Carmela live for us in Lodi. Farther south in Stanislaus County, an all clear at several schools after a chase involving a stolen semi-truck puts campuses on lockdown. It happened at around 11 this morning. Turlock police say the stolen truck was spotted in Merced County, where the suspect tried to hit an officer there with the truck. Authorities say the driver headed north into Turlock, where he's accused of trying to hit another police car. Eventually, he was arrested. Officials say that suspect also hit at least one uninvolved driver, but they are okay. Covering Solano County, where police are investigating a deadly stabbing there. It happened last night at around 9 out on Eagle Way in Fairfield. Let's show you where that is. It's south of Air Base Parkway. Officers say they showed up, found a man dead, and the suspect gone. They say there was some kind of an argument, and the suspect, who they believe knew the victim, ended up stabbing the man. In Placer County, Folsom police are investigating 2 deadly crashes that happened within 9 hours of each other. The first at around this time yesterday on Folsom Boulevard and Iron Point Road. Police say a driver died after crashing into a tree. Investigators, though, still trying to figure out why the driver went off the road. Then just before 1 this morning, another crash happened on Golf Links Drive and East Natoma Street, not far. That's when 2 cars crashed, killing one of the drivers. The other driver did stay there on the scene and nobody was arrested. Well, more than 130 California Highway Patrol cadets, you see them there taking part in the final physical task before finishing the academy today. Of course, that iconic 5-mile run across the Tower Bridge from the academy in West Sacramento to the state capitol wraps up 26 weeks of rigorous training. The run honors more than 1,700 California peace officers who've made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. This is actually the largest graduating class since February of 2022. Well done. Coming up, a local fire museum having to roll up the hose and close its doors. Why they say they have to do it. And a vaccine that can reduce the risk of dementia. It's already developed. Coming up, we're getting answers on the shot that could help millions. And all new at 5, wildfire survivors underinsured. Your reporter Brady Howd live, getting answers on the possible solutions to help Californians. The Sacramento Regional Fire Museum having to close its doors after 5 years. The museum has called Industrial Boulevard in West Sacramento home for several years, but says an increase in rent is forcing them out. Inside are those old trucks and old equipment used across the Sacramento Valley. Just so much history inside that museum. They hope to reopen at a new site once they can afford the rent on. A live look now out over the ongoing construction on I-80 in West Sacramento. What a mess. We know those split lanes are really slowing things down. This is right there at West Capitol. Lawmakers are looking to add some new cameras on highways, though, to stop speeding in highway work zones. So when you are able to get going, the new bill would create a statewide pilot program with the cameras monitoring speeds in construction zones. In states like Maryland and Pennsylvania, the results have actually been pretty dramatic, with speeding violations dropping by 80% and crashes down by nearly 20%. Dementia. It affects more than 6 million Americans and accounts for more than 100,000 deaths each year. A new study shows the shingles vaccine can reduce the risk of dementia. The question now is why? CBS 13's anchor Dom Garcia is getting answers.
The study, published in the journal Nature, found people who got the shingles vaccine were 20% less likely to develop dementia than those who didn't get the shot.
It's more what I call a discovery finding. In other words, hey, maybe there's something really important here. And now, as scientists, we need to dig into this.
Is it directly connected to the vaccine? Or do people who get the vaccine generally make healthier decisions throughout their life? Dr. Charles DeCarli is the co-director of UC Davis Health's Alzheimer's Disease Center. He says all we know is the vaccine and dementia reduction are connected, not why.
Is this kind of vaccine turning on our immune system? And one of the consequences is that that turned on immune system is also helping us to clear the pathological features, the abnormal proteins of Alzheimer's disease.
In the meantime, he says there are things you can do to lower your risk for getting dementia. Don't smoke. Manage illnesses like high blood pressure and cholesterol, and work out. Good tips until we can find out more.
So this is, I think, the strongest evidence that a vaccine aimed at a virus appears to be associated with a reduction in likelihood of developing dementia.
Pretty interesting. Shingles is usually seen in people over the age of 50. Experts say if you think you've been exposed to the virus, it is best to get the vaccine. Covering El Dorado County now, where CAL FIRE and county fire crews are out on the water for nearly a week of water rescue training. You see in there, CAL FIRE says they did some water rescue training courses and 6 drills. There are also paramedics on hand, and we know how important it is this time of year. With that weather warming up, people are heading out to our waterways, and that's certainly where they're going to be this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
It is about to get hot.
It is. Temperatures, how about that? 100, in mid-100s across much of the valley by Friday.
And you said record-breaking, maybe.
I think so. Friday. Saturday's going to be harder because the records are higher, you know.
Harder threshold to meet.
Exactly, yeah. Ooh. You know, I think the record's Friday closer to about 100, record Saturday about 105.
Oh,
so it's in the high end of that.
Yeah,
it'd be a lot harder to reach. But in the meantime, we are seeing that breezy weather coming in through the Delta. We are looking at those gusts coming in, registering about 25 to 30 miles per hour, essentially from Fairfield down to Elk Grove, Stockton, and Modesto included in that. Otherwise, elsewhere for the north within the Sacramento Valley, the winds are fairly light at the moment. So where it is breezy, of course, it leads to elevated fire concerns due to easier fire starts with the dry air that we have in place. Of course, the temperature gauge, I just have to say this, temperature gauge in Chico, obviously not working well, so it's not 46 there, though that would feel nice right now, wouldn't it? But temperatures lower to mid-80s from Marysville to Sacramento, Stockton at 80 degrees, Fairfield at 76. And tonight, we'll see those temperatures level out into the middle and upper 50s, closer to 60 in Grass Valley. But then tomorrow is going to serve as a transition day to move us from the 80s that we're seeing out there today to the triple digits that we'll all feel on Friday, which means tomorrow we're going to be well up into the 90s. Sacramento about 92, Walnut Grove at 93, and lower to mid-90s as you go from Lodi down to Manteca, Tracy at 92, Modesto coming in at 93, and not much influence off the Delta tomorrow. So Vacaville, Fairfield, Also joining the hot weather group here, some of the warmest weather will be across Colusa and Sutter County with middle to upper 90s for tomorrow. Quincy near 90, mid 80s, Portola all the way down toward Gold Run, Forest Hill into the 80s, 93 Roseville, and up in Tahoe temperatures close to 80 degrees with mostly sunny skies. And again, as we mentioned, by Friday, everybody's going to be warming things up. Temperature-wise, over the next few days, looking like this. Saturday especially. Temperatures 100s, 107 Colusa, 105 in Stockton. And we have the San Joaquin County Fair happening this weekend. And yeah, timing wise, working along with the high heat. So it's going to feel a lot more like how the California State Fair has been feeling the last few years with that hot weather. But nonetheless, at least we have sunny skies, bit drop of temperatures early next week. So the heat doesn't last very long. We're going to be snapping right back down to lower 80s. We also have some thunderstorms in the forecast for the Sierra by early next week. Hunter?
All right, we got to prepare. Nick, thank you. Tourism is a big economic driver for Sacramento, and Visit Sacramento is highlighting the industry today, sharing just how much it helps the region. The group says they are using global advertising, trying to get people to visit events of all kind.
15 years ago, tourism in Sacramento was really about conventions. Now it's about conventions, it's about music festivals, it's about sporting events, it's about food, it's about leisure travel. So we've helped identify other things that draw folks to this market.
Yeah, 15 million people visit the area every year and spend more than $4 billion, so it's certainly important. All right, still ahead, Joe Hunter headed back out to the Survivor Island. Why the Sacramento Fire captain is going for round 2.
Now you can get your CBS 13 news, weather, and live stream all in one place on the CBS News app. Download it free today.
Yeah, no, my spine was stretched. Hey, Mike, check what? Huh? I'm so much taller, can't you tell?
Well, it's not over for the local fire captain who made it to the top 3 on the latest season of Survivor. Of course, we're all huge fans of Joe Hunter, and he is going to be returning for now the 50th season of the show. 24 returning players from previous seasons are going to dig deep to once again try and be the sole survivor to win that $1 million prize. Season 50 premieres in spring of next year. So if Joe convinced you to take on the Survivor Challenge, now is your chance to do just that. Next Monday, there's an open casting call at Cache Creek Casino. We will be there, so go to cbs13.com/survivor for more details. Covering San Joaquin County, where there is a chance for local students to dive into STEM. Of course, it stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. Next month, middle school and high school students have the chance to learn with a 3-day camp. The hands-on lab is happening in Manteca and being put on by Beam Circular. Still ahead, an old building in Nevada County getting a special designation. We're going to tell you why an old powerhouse is so rich in history. Tony?
All right, thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Tony Lopez in the newsroom. Lots more coming your way. All new at 5, including these stories. People living in a Central Valley housing complex growing frustrated over those HOA fees. Tonight, we're getting answers and evidence from members showing growing issues over the years. A local softball player hit by a reckless driver. Tonight, we're speaking with the family and teammates on what lies ahead for the student who was on an athletic college scholarship. And the family of a sick Southern California child trying to fight off a deportation order, while they say it could be the difference between life and death. Those stories and more all new at 5, just minutes away.
We're covering Nevada County, where the Nevada City substation has been named a county historical landmark. The powerhouse out on Factory Street was the first hydroelectric generating plant way back in the late 1800s. It helped serve mines in the area and led to Nevada City getting electricity. Covering Sacramento County, where a Salvation Army playground in Oak Park is once again open after newly renovated upgrades. The Salvation Army Sacramento Citadel campus services hundreds of kids every month. The Rotary Club teamed up with other organizations, volunteering over 80 hours and donating $40,000 in grant money.
Part of what we do as Rotarians is a chance for us to give back to the community that's been so good to us and our businesses.
So some of the renovations include a new concrete pad, a new barbecue grill with tables and chairs. It's been a busy 30 minutes in your community. Just this half hour, we covered many counties. We visited Plumas, Yuba, Sutter, San Joaquin, Sacramento, Yolo, Stanislaus, Solano, Placer, El Dorado, and Nevada counties. And your reporter covering Sutter County, Kayla Mueller, went to a groundbreaking for a levee risk reduction project. The multi-million-dollar project stretches 44 miles and helps protect hundreds of homes and Highway 99. Today, they began the last mile stretch.
getting answers. This is CBS 13 News, always streaming on CBS News Sacramento.
And welcome in now at 5. California high school sports back in the spotlight again today over transgender athletes. The latest efforts by the feds looking to ensure what they say is an equal playing field.
An Elk Grove senior softball player sidelined. Why, instead of walking at her high school graduation, she's in the hospital.
But first and all new at 5. Fee frustration for dozens of people living in a Modesto condo complex told they will have to pay $25,000 to fix rotting balconies and stairs. Thanks for joining us for the CBS 13 News at 5. I'm Tony Lopez.
And I'm Hunter Sowards. Of course, this is a story we really have been tracking since the start. In less than an hour now, Walnut Orchard's HOA is going to be tallying those ballots to determine whether that special assessment will pass. Your reporter covering Stanislaus County, Nina Burns, joining us live from Modesto, getting answers on where this stands. Nina, what are you learning?
That's right. Now, guys, we've been speaking to condo owners here since March who've been expressing their frustrations with this $25,000 per unit assessment fee. Tonight, they tally that vote to decide if that's going to happen. But through talking to those residents, we've received piles of documents. And tonight, we go through them to see how much they add up to what the HOA is saying with this assessment.
I don't have $25,000 to just give them.
I don't know where I'm going to be living a month from now because of them.
A multi-million-dollar decision looming for homeowners at Walnut Orchards. The HOA is pushing a special assessment to fix rotting stairs, landings, and decks. But a structural report from 1996 flagged the exact same issues: rotted balconies, unsafe stair landings, and widespread water damage, with estimated repair costs ranging from $2 to $6 million. Fast forward to today, as each unit faces a $25,000 fee.
Who has that kind of money?
Yet, the HOA's own 2025 budget states no special assessment is anticipated, and that reserves were sufficient for major repairs.
The costs keep rising, and we don't have anything to show for it.
It's a question even board candidates raised back in 2019. One called for more transparency around how reserve funds were being managed.
$87 when I moved here. Now they're $582 a month.
Since 2020, monthly HOA dues at the property have climbed nearly 80%, from $325 to $582.
So it seems like they've literally done nothing as far as continuing maintenance for years and years and years.
The HOA's management company, Common Interest, claims the community has been maintained on a regular basis. But a video from April, filmed by a homeowner just 3 days after CBS 13's report, shows workers disputing that claim.
If the roof's ever been hit or cleaned before. No, by the look of it, I don't think so.
You have a lot of pictures too of the algae before and after?
Yeah.
Yeah, we take a good amount for, we're going to send them over to Anna Castillo. She's the one who's supposed to come clean the roof off.
CBS 13 has tried to reach Common Interest manager Anna Castillo since March. The only response we've received is no comment. Now, the tallying of that vote starts at 6 p.m. tonight, but residents say fear still lingers after the HOA said even if this does not pass, they'll raise their monthly fees, which right now is $582, over the next decade to up to $5,000 per month. But we'll stay with this tonight, and we'll see where this vote takes them. I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Nina, thanks for staying on top of things. Lots of money, lots of people impacted by this. Wow. Covering Modesto tonight. A 19-year-old Joseph Davis, he's the suspect in the picnic day shooting in Davis. He was arraigned today in court, pled not guilty. Davis was arrested last week in Sacramento County in connection to the shooting that left 3 people hurt last month. He faces charges of assault with a deadly weapon and several other firearms-related charges. A preliminary hearing is now set for mid-June.
CAL FIRE crews and El Dorado County fire crews out on the water for nearly a week of water rescue training. According to CAL FIRE, there are 3 water rescue training courses and 6 drills. There are also paramedics on hand out there as they work to make sure everybody is up to task. El Dorado County is home to several fast-moving rivers and flood-prone areas.
We're going to kind of have a drill tomorrow to get us ready for the heat. So tomorrow it's another uptick, and then Chief Meteorologist Nick Marianos is telling us that it's the prep day for the real strong heat.
Oh, yeah.
The heat is on its way.
It's on. You know, it's going to slap you in the face on Friday. When you step outside, it's going to be one of those days. Tomorrow is a great way to describe that. The transition day, taking us from the 80s now to the triple digits tomorrow. We're going to be well into the 90s. We have that breeze coming through the Delta, so that's why we're seeing that temperature change in Fairfield at 76 degrees right now, gusting to 30. And we are seeing those gusts coming into parts of San Joaquin County as well. So, of course, in the Delta region, we're watching that for potential fire starts. But otherwise, the rest of the region fairly quiet. Sunset tonight coming in at 8:22. Temperatures staying into the 60s through 9 and 10 o'clock. We will end up lower 50s tonight. So comfortable start to the day ahead of us. And then temperatures will climb back up into the 90s tomorrow. We'll have plenty of sunshine tomorrow, but then the big heat comes in. That's why we have those heat advisories Friday and Saturday. Of course, it's the First Alert Action Day, both Friday and Saturday for the Valley and for the foothills. And we'll have more on how hot things will get coming up, Hunter.
All right, Nick, thank you. Rising gas prices and fleeing gas refineries, the main talking points today at a state energy hearing. California lawmakers on both sides of the aisle asking regulators if they created the problem when it comes to 2 refineries announcing plans to shut down. They made the move after state lawmakers crafted legislation to create new storage requirements for refineries, some say making it even harder to store that gas. Next year, California is going to have 20% less gas supply than they do right now.
Calls for change from one state lawmaker now looking to stop roadwork construction deaths by using speed cameras in work zones. The bill would bring those speed cameras into construction zones with the hopes of trying to slow down drivers and protect construction workers who oftentimes, as we all know, are working real close to those speeding vehicles. Here's some more.
The reality on our roads are that it is very dangerous. It is one of the most dangerous jobs that you can do, to be out there building and protecting and maintaining our roads to make sure all of us can live our daily lives.
In 2021, California recorded 9,500 work zone crashes, nearly 3,000 injuries, and 73 deaths.
A heads up for Nevada County drivers, and construction is coming in the coming weeks. It's happening at Comey Road between West Hacienda Drive and Higgins Road. Starting next month, crews are going to be installing a sidewalk to help neighbors walk safely between their homes. The new Bear River Library and schools in the area. Construction is happening through the month of July.
All new at 5, a New York court has ruled against some of President Trump's tariffs, temporarily stopping those policies he announced on Liberation Day earlier this month. Last month, I should say. It also prevents the president from enforcing his tariffs placed earlier this year against China, Mexico, and Canada, designed to combat fentanyl coming into the U.S. The court ruled in favor of a permanent injunction. That means the bulk, but not all, of Trump's tariffs are still on a standstill.
Well, new information tonight on California's battle with the feds over transgender athletes competing in youth sports.
Today, the DOJ announced it has opened up an investigation into whether a California law signed by then-Governor Jerry Brown in 2013 complies with Title IX. The administration is looking into one part of the law that requires schools to adhere to each student's preferred gender identity rather than their sex assigned at birth.
Title IX, in the words of the DOJ, ensures equal educational opportunities and prevents discrimination based on sex in federally funded schools and athletic programs. Administration officials, though, claim that allowing transgender girls to compete in girls' athletic competitions, it undermines the rights of cisgender athletes as an issue of fairness.
Just yesterday, President Trump threatened to withhold federal funds from California if a trans athlete is allowed to compete at the CIF state track and field finals. CIF said in response it would create extra spots for athletes who would have qualified and would hand out 2 medals if a trans athlete wins. Governor Newsom said the program was reasonable. The AG's office says they're working to define and uphold state law that ensures students, including transgender students, are free from discrimination and harassment.
Certainly something to watch. All new at 5, President Trump is expressing confidence that the U.S. is on the verge of striking deals to end 2 wars in Europe and the Middle East, and close to stopping Iran from creating a nuclear weapon.
CBS 13's Erica Brown joins us now live from Washington. Erica, what was his message today while speaking to the press? It's always interesting.
Well, Tony and Hunter, President Trump today issued a new timeline for Russian President Vladimir Putin for those peace efforts with Ukraine. Now, that comes as the administration today expressed optimism about brokering peace deals in the Middle East, including a potential ceasefire in Gaza and a nuclear deal with Iran. President Trump delivered a timeline to determine whether Russia is serious about a peace deal with Ukraine.
Do you still believe that Putin actually wants to end the war?
I can't tell you that, but I'll let you know in about 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, we're going to find out very soon.
Trump also said he was disappointed with the drone and rocket attacks Russia launched on Ukrainian cities this week. He says a peace deal is urgently needed to save lives.
There are only two outcomes. You know what the two outcomes is: a smart outcome and there's a violent outcome, and I don't think anybody wants to see the second.
Russia's foreign minister said they have a peace memorandum to present to Ukraine at the next round of talks they've proposed in Turkey next week. The president was also optimistic about a ceasefire deal in Gaza. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff said a new proposal could be delivered as early as today.
I have some very good feelings about getting to a long-term resolution, temporary ceasefire, and a long-term resolution, a peaceful resolution.
Speaking about ongoing U.S. talks with Iran, the president acknowledged he told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to hold off on striking Iran during a phone call last week.
Well, I'd like to be honest. Yes, I did.
Trump said any deal with Iran to end its nuclear program would be very strong.
Well, we can go in with inspectors, we can take whatever we want, we can blow up whatever we want, but nobody getting killed.
If a deal can be reached, Iran's nuclear chief says they might allow U.S. inspectors at their nuclear facilities. Now, the president said the U.S. is very close to reaching a solution with Iran. And he said in that phone call with the Israeli prime minister, he told Netanyahu that taking any action against Iran while they're working on a deal will be, quote, inappropriate. Tony Hunter.
Erica, let's sneak in a question because this is kind of breaking news. Within the last hour or so, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announcing the federal government will start revoking the visas of some Chinese students. What can you tell us about that?
That's right. In that statement, the Secretary of State said the State Department will start revoking visas for Chinese students, and they will start revising the criteria for students from China and Hong Kong to receive visas if that is ever reinstated. Now, this comes after the president had moved to block foreign student enrollment at Harvard University, and after that, China had already responded saying that the United States was politicizing education. It's important to note that China has hundreds of thousands of students currently in the U.S. Tony Hunter.
Impacting so many students, and that legal back and forth is going to continue, I'm sure. Erica Brown live for us at the White House. Thanks, Erica. Let's show you the scene here in San Francisco today as immigration activists rallied against ICE agents reportedly making arrests at courthouses across the country. They say the arrests are a bait and switch tactic, arresting immigrants after they show up for scheduled hearings.
Seeing coordination between the ICE agents and the attorneys in court, where attorneys are asking for judges to dismiss the case. After the case is dismissed, immediately the agent waiting outside the courtroom is arresting people.
So 11 people were reportedly arrested earlier this week after scheduled court hearings in San Diego.
Lots more to talk about here at 5. In fact, we're just